What's up, my brothers keepers? I am proud to be joined on the stage by my brothers and my sisters and my mentors. These incredible people lead some of the nation's most powerful organizations, working to reduce barriers and expand opportunity for our boys and young men seated in this room. These fearless, that's right, these fearless leaders will share where this movement has been, where this movement is going, and what each of you can do to make sure it continues to grow, thrive, and open endless doors of possibility for our boys and young men.
Hi, my name is Dr. Jim Bostic. I am my brother's keeper. I was born in New Rochelle, New York, but given away at birth by my biological mother, and there's not even a father's name on my birth certificate. After having my right eye put out by some kids thinking it was a joke, I was blinded at 11 years old for life. I had to endure being in foster care and having one eye. However, it didn't stop me from making it through high school and college and even playing in the National Basketball Association. Because I had caring men and women in my life that mentored me. Currently, I serve as the executive director of Neppahan Community Center in Yonkers, New York. The mission of our agency is to empower children and families and to reach their fullest potential. Over the past 76 years, we have gone from a storefront serving about 100 children between 3 and 6 p.m. to a multifaceted agency serving approximately 30,000 children and families per year from age 4 all the way up to senior citizens. Our agency now serves Yonkers, the entire lower Hudson Valley of New York, and 5 countries on the continent of Africa and Haiti. Thank you. We just completed building 2 facilities on the west coast of Africa. The greatest challenges we faced in our fight to support boys and young men of color is helping them to see the greatness that lies within each of them and fostering hope among these young brothers. Many of them are trapped in an inner city syndrome and can't see their way out. They are fighting against generational curses. To create a world where our boys and young men of color know they matter and can reach their fullest potential, I believe we must cancel our photo ops and our press conferences, change our wardrobes and put on our boxing gear, because we are going to have to fight for the change and opportunities we desire for them. Our boys and young men of color need to know that, like Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., or Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Rosa Parks, there are people in this movement that are willing to put their lives on the line that these boys and young men of color might walk in the purpose that God created for them. Will you join me today and commit to becoming one of those leaders?
My name is Sean Dove, and I am my brother's keeper. I serve as the CEO of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, a national membership organization that seeks to ensure the growth, sustainability, and impact of leaders and organizations working to improve the life outcomes of Black men and boys. CBMA invests in and supports hometown heroes and sheroes, leaders just like each one of you in this room here today, intergenerational leaders across the nation that are fighting every day to ensure that all young people, no matter their race, ethnicity, or sexual identity, are able to realize their full potential. You know, 2 years ago, while attending the first Obama Foundation Summit in Chicago, I picked up a sticker that now resides on the top of my laptop. with the words of President Obama that challenges us in this way. I am asking you to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours. I read those words every time I open my laptop, which happens to be every day. And I am reminded to believe in my ability to make change, and I extend that very same challenge to you today. I pray that your experience at MBK Rising has elevated your belief in yourself to make change, not only in your own life, but also in your community and across the nation. I hope your time here in the great city of Oakland has also increased your belief in your partners and allies, that together we can make the change we're seeking. Because we will not go as far as our dreams, we will only go as far as our teams. One of the mission mantras of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement is that black men and boys don't need saviors. We need believers.
Right.
Believers in our potential, believers in our assets and abilities to make change and meaningful contributions to society. Well, what are you, my MBK Rising family, now believing what's possible that you may not have believed before you arrived in Oakland? There is no cavalry coming to save the day. We are the iconic leaders we have been waiting for, curators of the change we're seeking to see. The challenge before us, each and every one of us, after the MBK Rising lights fade and cameras disappear, is to hold on to that rising belief that we indeed together make up the cavalry for our boys and young men of color. And that change is possible if we love, learn, and lead with courage and conviction. I leave you with the words of CBMA's board chair, Tanya Allen, who's the CEO of the Stegman Foundation, who reminds us that this is hard work, and it is also heart work. But we can win if we make love our supreme master.
All right.
My name is Rhonda Pat Bryant, and I am my brother's keeper. I lead Forward Promise, a national program of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Our vision is simple: boys and young men of color thriving. In 2 years, we've been proud to invest over $3 million in the programming and capacity building of 9 organizations that use cultural healing practices to create safe spaces for the growth and empowerment of our boys and young men of color. We're working with an inaugural cohort of Forward Promise Fellows, 20 amazing intergenerational leaders advancing healing for boys and young men, their communities, and themselves. The greatest challenge we face in our effort to ensure that boys and young men of color are thriving is the racial stress and trauma they experience from dehumanization every single day. To create a world where our boys know they matter and can reach their full potential, my call to action is for all of us to work together to end the cycle of dehumanization that is stopping our boys from thriving. Ending dehumanization happens in 4 critical ways. First, we must continually challenge the negative narratives about our boys and tell our own stories. These narratives influence how they see themselves and are the springboard for how people make decisions about them and the issues that impact their lives. Our boys are powerful. Our boys are gifted. Our boys are forces for good. That is the message that people need to hear. Second, we have to undo and heal the harmful internal feelings that are blocking the progress of our boys and young men. Not being connected to one's history, culture, and legacy, it's isolating and it's traumatizing, and the conditions that they face navigating the world each day are stressful. We have to support organizations that provide protection, restore hope, build positive self-image, and create power for our boys. Third, we must turn around the destructive patterns in our communities. When we understand that destructive behaviors or patterns are merely a response to trauma, then we will deal with our boys and young men of color more compassionately. We have to support organizations that use cultural healing practices to show empathy, give redirection, and provide the skills needed to take full advantage of the opportunities for another chance. There is power, healing, and restoration in our cultures. It's who we are. We must give that to our boys, all of them. And finally, we must overturn the dangerous actions in our society that harm our boys and young men. In every system that touches young people and their families, we see the examples of unequal treatment and outcomes. The practices and policies created at every level of decision-making in this country must be weighed for how they impact the lives of our boys and young men of color. Without this advocacy, they'll continue to be at the bottom despite our best efforts. There is a role in this work of ending dehumanization for each and every one of us in this room and everyone watching online. The path forward is clear. Let's support our boys and young men of color to heal, to grow, and to thrive.
Greetings, family. My name is Anthony Smith, and I lead Cities United. And our mission is simple. We work with mayors to make sure that all young black men and boys and their families grow up in communities that are safe, healthy, and hopeful. Over the last 8 years, we have been able to support over 130 cities as they create their comprehensive public safety plans, really redirecting and re-conversation around what we consider public safety. We have also been able to launch our roadmap to safe and healthy neighborhoods, a framework that helps mayors and cities guide their work. But we're most proud of, we've launched a fellowship, the Roadmap Academy Fellowship, of young people across the country between ages of 18 and 24. 7 of them are with us today, to really build the leadership of our young people across this country so that they can impact the work on the ground. The greatest challenge we face in our efforts to keep young boys and men of color alive, thriving, is the lack of access to opportunities. So we need to work hard to make sure that young men see themselves and opportunities in every city that they live in. To create the world where our boys and young men of color know that they matter and can reach their full potential, my call to action is to our elected officials to make sure that your budgets and policies align with what you say when you say you care about our young black men and boys. That way shows us that you care about our young black men and boys and their families, that you love them, and that you're going to do things to make sure that it's long-lasting and forever a part of what your city looks like. Thank you all.
My name is Eric Raymond Stegman. My family is from the Carry the Kettle Nakota First Nation, and I am my brother's keeper. My great-grandfather, George Jefferson Raymond, survived a boarding school system where he was forcibly taken from his family and disciplined for speaking his language and practicing his cultures and traditions. He ran away to Chicago and became one of the very first typesetters at the Chicago Sun-Times. And his son, George Jerome Raymond, became one of the very first American Indian dentists. My grandfather moved his young family to the Blackfeet Reservation, where he provided dental service for tribal members when the federal government was terminating its treaty relationships with tribes, starving them of critical services their ancestors fought for and were promised. My grandfather and great-grandfather embody the resilience of Native people and their nations. This is why I'm proud to lead the Center for Native American Youth at the Aspen Institute. Our vision is that all Native American youth lead full and healthy lives, have equal access to opportunity, and most importantly, draw strength from their culture and inspire one another. The cornerstone of our work is direct engagement with youth and their communities. We provide training and leadership development. We create platforms for youth to advocate in their own voice about the issues that matter to them. And we provide a space for them to heal and thrive. Our National Generation Indigenous Youth Network, launched by President Obama back in 2014, has over 2,500 engaged Native youth leaders who are drawing strength from their cultures, working across their communities to build power, and walking with their ancestors. The greatest challenge we face in this work is invisibility. We are resilient. We are hundreds of nations strong. Our young leaders are mobilizing movements across the country. But too often, our people are not at the table when it comes to the systems change that we're all fighting for. Our young men struggle in so many of the same systems that many of those of you in this room do as well. They face some of the highest disparities of discipline in school. They have some of the highest interaction rates with the criminal justice system. And in some states, they represent over half the foster care population, even though they're only a couple percentage points of the total population. To create a world where our boys and young men of color know they matter and can reach their full potential, my call to action is simple. It's to remember Native people in that struggle and invite them to your table. My team works directly with hundreds of Native youth leaders across the country every year who bring generations of strength to these movements. If you're at a campaign, if you're at a rally, if you're at one of your social justice tables, and you don't see our young men in that room and our young leaders, ask why and reach out. We're here to join your movement.
That's right. My name is Michael Smith, and I am proud. Thank you. And I am proud to serve as the executive director of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, and I am My Brother's Keeper. My Brother's Keeper is proud to lead President Obama's continued national call to action to dismantle the unjust systems that keep too many of our boys and young men of color from reaching their dreams. Today, we work to help our partners build safe and supportive communities where boys and young men of color are valued and have clear pathways to opportunity. Since President Obama launched My Brother's Keeper in the White House 5 years ago, a national movement has grown, resulting in nearly 250 cities, counties, and tribal nations accepting the MBK Community Challenge, scores of new policy initiatives, and an exponential increase in private sector funding. Since the My Brother's Keeper Alliance became an initiative of the Obama Foundation, we've been proud to double down on what our MBK communities told us that they needed most. We've created new tools and technical assistance to strengthen the network and the leaders that are at its heart. We've launched campaigns to mobilize citizens and resources, and we wrote big checks, putting our money where our mouth is, to invest in evidence-based solutions and high-performing organizations to accelerate impact and scale what works. If we want to take this movement from good to great, if we want to tackle the suffocating legacy of institutional racism, if we want to honor the memory of Trayvon, of Jordan, of Oscar, of my brother, Tory Lamont Smith, who was killed in street violence when he was 27 years old, we have to be brutally honest with ourselves that good is not good enough. We have to stop investing in stale status quo solutions that can only talk about how many kids they serve, but can't talk about how many lives have been measurably changed. MBK Alliance will continue to spotlight, lift up, and invest in organizations and communities like the ones that you have seen on stage that are rooted in evidence and laser focused on results that change lives. And we need you, all of you, to join alongside us. Support them, invest in them, and demand excellence because our kids deserve nothing less.